Hello students, in this video I will discuss the long question answers from Ranga's marriage. So let me start. The very first question: give a brief account of Ranga's education, his views on marriage, and finally how he got married. That means the entire process of Ranga accomplishing his higher studies and finally how he got married. So let's come to the answer part. Ranga was the son of an accountant of Hosali village, and his father was very much progressive, and he was the first one to send his son to Bangalore for higher studies. He made news when he went to Bangalore to study further. I already told you regarding this when I explained the chapter earlier. In those days, not many people could speak or even understand English. So, when he returned home after 6 months, a curious crowd of villagers gathered at his house to see the change in the boy. They were disappointed because when after 6 months Ranga returned back, there was practically no change in him as such. He was grounded, he was humble, he was polite, and as usual, he was very disciplined and religious. I am moving on to the next paragraph related with the same question. Ranga was unwilling to marry a very young and immature girl. He was willing to remain a bachelor until he found the right girl. He was opposed to arranged marriages. A man should marry a girl he admired. That was his clear-cut philosophy. So, this was his philosophy, that a man should marry a girl that he admires. But the narrator resolved to get Ranga married at the earliest. The narrator is Shama, and as we know that he was a potential matchmaker, he wanted to get Ranga married at the earliest. He so manipulated the situation that Ranga saw young Ratna got attracted to her, and with the scansion of Shastri's ideology, finally married her. Now, with the help of Shastri's ideology, he planned and manipulated the situation in such a way that Ranga and Ratna finally got married and remained happy ever after. I am moving on to the next question now. Question number 2. Why and how does the narrator conspire to get Ranga married? In what way the narrator Shama conspired to get Ranga married? Ranga was a young, educated, generous and promising boy. He was a very promising boy, and he went to Bangalore for higher studies. So he was well educated also, we can say. But he was stubborn. Adamant means stubborn on not marrying a very young and immature girl selected by his parents. He was very stubborn. He was bent upon staying single until he found the right girl whom he admired. He frankly told the narrator that until he found the right girl, he would stay single, he would stay alone. The narrator resolved to get him married. Now, at that time only, the narrator was very much determined to get him married. He thought of Rama Rao's 11-year-old niece. By the name of the niece, as you know, it is Ratna. She could play the harmonium, and she had even a sweet voice. The narrator brought Ratna and Ranga face to face at his own house. He roused the boy's interest in the girl. He declared that the girl was already married. But it was a lie. It was a lie in order to arouse curiosity in the mind of Ranga for Ratna. He conspired with Shastriji, the local village astrologer, to further Ranga's interest in Ratna. Ranga was made to believe that even according to the Shastras, he was destined to marry Ratna. Yes, according to the Shastras, he was destined to marry Ratna. He planned, and finally the execution of the plan was very much successful, and finally Ratna and Ranga, they got married to each other. I am moving on to the third question. Briefly narrate the main events of the story Ranga's marriage. What are the main events that we find in the story Ranga's marriage? So let me continue. Ranga is the son of a village accountant. By this time we all know about this. He becomes a hero when he goes to Bangalore for studies, and his father sent him to Bangalore for higher studies. Probably he was the first one to go to Bangalore for higher studies from his village Hosahalli. When he returns to Hosahalli village, after 6 months, the people make a crowd at his house. They mill or they gather around his house. Mill at his house is a term written in the text. They were very curious, they were very inquisitive to see the change in him. But they go back disappointed because they haven't found any change in him as such. Ranga's views about marriage are now quite different after his stay in the city. After his stay in the city, his views about marriage underwent a sea change. He declared that he would marry a mature girl whom he himself selects and admires. His clear-cut philosophy is that he will marry a mature girl whom he admires and whom he loves. The narrator Shyama is provoked to get him married to the 11-year-old niece of Rama Rao, that is Ratna. He calls both of them to his house. Ratna comes to fetch buttermilk. Ranga hears her sing and becomes interested in her. It was actually the plan of the matchmaker Shyama. Shyama tutors the village Sastri, who declares that the girl called Ratna is the right match for him. Finally, Sastri was also being tutored by Shyama, and Sastri gave the conclusion that yes, Ratna is the right choice for Ranga. The marriage is solemnized soon. Finally, the marriage is solemnized very soon. Ranga names his firstborn son after Shyama. It is his tribute to the narrator. And not only that, how Ranga and Ratna showed their tribute to the narrator, or rather to say, how Ranga bestowed his tribute on the narrator by naming their son after the narrator. Like it is a Western tradition, and here also they kept the name Shyama of their firstborn child. Now I am moving on to the value-based question. The first important value-based question was related with child marriage, and the question is like this: the institution of child marriage is deep-rooted in our society. Laws are present to check it, but it is still prevalent in society. But sadly, it is still prevalent in our society. It is an evil which laws alone cannot annihilate or eliminate. Something more is to be done. And what is to be done? Discuss. Now, child marriage is prohibited by law in our country, just like dowry. But just like dowry, child marriage is still prevalent in our country. Strangely enough, this social tradition is still prevalent in society. I told you all regarding this right now. Child marriage is a social evil. Thus, this social evil needs treatment at the social level, and this responsibility lies on the shoulders of the social organizations. It is a social evil, just like dowry, it is a curse, it is a social evil. Similarly, child marriage is also a social evil, and social organizations should come to the forefront, and they should stop this social evil at the earliest. They should carry out intensive awareness programs or campaigns against child marriage. To fight this evil, young boys and girls, those who are young educated boys and girls, they should willingly come forward to oppose this tradition. The younger generation should come forward to oppose this tradition. To fight this evil, young boys and girls should willingly come forward to oppose this tradition. They should not give consent to such marriages. Consent, that means approval. Young boys and girls, or rather to say the younger generation, they should not give approval to such marriages. Child marriage snatches away childhood and its dreams. Yes, child marriage, the negativity is that it snatches away childhood and its dreams. It makes a girl child life a virtual hell. Yes, a living hell. A girl child's life becomes a living hell. Motherhood at a tender age leaves her weak physically and mentally. As she is not well educated, she does not know how to look after her children efficiently. She is not so well educated. She might be a dropout from school because she got married at a very early age, and it is not possible for her to manage the education of her own children when she becomes a mother. The girl who becomes mother at a tender age often die a premature death. And sad part is that those girls who becomes mother at a very tender age, they all die premature death. Those who try to perpetuate means those who support child marriage, should be severely punished. The custodians of law, that is the police officials and the other people who are in charge of law and order in the country, if found negligent, should be equally punished. Those who are the custodians of law, if they promote this, if they support it directly or indirectly, they also should be punished in the same way. More and more girls should be educated. Moreover, the girls must have more say when the question of their marriage crops up. Such measures can provide the only way to uproot or to exterminate or to eradicate these most heinous means something that is cruel, something that is gruesome, heinous of the social evil. So the educated girls, the young girls, they should come forward. Only then the social evil can be stopped. Now I am moving on to my second question. Now this question is related with language and culture. To decry any language and any culture is not good. Decry means to defame. If we show negativity towards any culture, the bad thing is the unmindful aping of other cultures. Now we have to elucidate on this. The widening influence of the Western culture is all pervasive. Here also we find that the Western influence is much more. English, study of English language and all this. Every culture has positive as well as negative points. Every culture in the human society has both positive as well as negative points. It is good that it has made us broad-minded, but important thing is that English education, ultimately what is the good thing of English education? English education has made us progressive in our outlook. English education has made us broad-minded. Not only that, even the old it has given us an identity related with modernization and westernization. We can reject the age-old culture and customs also. Junk food has replaced our healthy food. Materialism has made us forget the values of human relations. Cutthroat competition, a product of Western culture, has made us insensitive and brutish. But apart from the positive things, the negative things are also there. Cutthroat competition made us insensitive and brutish. Not only that, materialism, its impact is also negative. We don't give much importance to joint family system nowadays. We prefer nuclear families, just like aping the Western culture in the society that is prevalent in their society. We are trying to aping it, we are trying to mimicry it in our society also. Marriage is a union of two families. And not only that, old morals and values that are inherent in our Indian society, considered to be a sort of a culture, ancient culture and custom, is now paid no attention by the younger generation. Marriage is a union of two families. So while having the right to choose one's life partner, one's family's role should not be ignored. Yes, in order to choose one's life partner, one's family's role should not be ignored. We can finally conclude that we should try to form an amalgamation. Amalgamation means a fusion. Amalgamation of positive points of different cultures, and make this world a better place to live in by taking all the good things, not only from other culture but from our culture also, and finally we can make this society a very beautiful place to live in. Dear students, that ends this segment of the broad question category that I have discussed. If there is any doubt, listen to this video and then you can clarify from me later. Thank you students, thank you all.